Wow, 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 bow. Dun, 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 bow, bow, bow. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Hello everybody! We're going to be trying a different format of recording video today, kind of like I did for my diplomacy videos, but we are today going to be doing a board game review of this wonderful game. Oh god, the light. Oh god. It's called Sagrada. It's a great game. I actually really like it a lot. It's a dice game. It's all about you making these wonderful stained glass windows. Hooray! The theme is probably the least important part of the whole game. What's fun is actually, this is one of the funnest mechanical games that I've played. By mechanical, I mean the mechanics are the main drive. So the concept behind the game is that you're rolling dice, and then you're going to try and build your own kind of stained glass window. And you have different patterns that each player will randomly be given. These are not all the patterns, there's more. To play with, though. There's going to be a lot of different options, which is always nice to see. And the way the game works is that at the beginning of the game, each player will get a secret color card. So that means they're trying to look at, they get bonus points at the end of the game for how many pips are on this person's yellow dice, for example. This one has blue, and so forth down the line. Now, the way you, before we get to the actual playing itself, during setup, you're also going to lay out this turn keeper, as well as on the other side there is a wonderful score chart, which goes up to 50 and you can loop around. So that's really nice to see, putting that 2 into 1, kind of like Carcassonne does with its track. We also have randomly created objective cards, so that's really important to note. You have 3 that always get laid out, so no matter how many players there are, there's always 3 objectives, and this one says we're looking for values of 3 and 4, or they call medium shades. This one is looking for color variety, another one's looking for color diagonals. And we also set up 3 random tools which are used to help the players. So for example, there might be die modifiers during the draft. You might have a like a reroll thing, or no, immediately taking a second turn. That's always a good power. And then there might be, something like this, where you can swap dice, which is pretty cool, pretty interesting powers. Now each of these cards randomly will be given, I'm just going to give a couple of, you use these stones essentially, I don't even need to put them on. To use these helpful tool powers, you're going to be using these stones to pay for it, and each of the cards that you slide into your little stained glass window has a number value on it, essentially, from about 1 to 6, I think. And it costs 1 coin, 1 token to use if you're the first person to use the power, and then all other players pay 2, regardless of the order of use of the power. So how's the game actually work? Now that I've gone over setup, that's pretty straightforward. That's why you need setup. Inside of here, you'll find that there is a bag of dice. There's a total of, I believe it is 18. Actually, let me double check the dice count on the components chart. But I believe there's going to be 18. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, 18 dice. I was right. There's 18 dice of 5 colors. They're all 6-sided dice. Nothing special. But the way the game works is every turn, starting with whoever, you go ahead, or I think it might be the most recent person to visit see a stained glass window. You pull out dice equal to the number of players, 2 dice per player plus 1. So for a 4-player game, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, almost got it that time. 9. Okay. And as you can see, we pulled this dice. So after you pull them out, whoever's the turn it is, whoever's starting, will take the dice, they'll roll it, and they'll get some numbers. And then these numbers are the pool of dice that you're going to be drafting. So you want to take I like to organize them by color, and then each player will go around and see what they want. So for example, in this game, let's say I was the green player over here. I really want purple and red dice, and I'm trying to get values that are you know, in the 3 or 4 range. Now, the way that the actual cards work for placing dice, like say I wanted this number 6, red. I can either play it in a blank white area, that any dice can go there. I can play it in a red area, because this is a red dice, or I can play it on a number 6, because I got 6. So, a lot of options for making choices, but obviously we want to have lots of colors in this game, for example, and we want diagonals. So maybe I would take a red dice and put it there in hopes of getting another red there. Or perhaps they might say, ooh, well, I'll take this purple one first, put it maybe in there, and there has to be a purple there. There's no other option anyway. And then say, okay, well, maybe we'll grab this other purple and go there. So that's always good. For example, I mean, you could even be someone over here who's like, well, I really need a 4, so I'm gonna put a 4 there. You know, I can't do diagonal there, but perhaps we could get a yellow 1. That helps color variety, and it doesn't really help for diagonal though, because diagonals are matching color. So there's kind of this interplay. And so what you do in the whole game is you go around, so like one person, so let's say this guy takes this, you could take that. This guy could definitely use a 4 right there. And this dude could use any color. So maybe he takes the red one and puts it in his red slot. Back over here, this guy would take his purple, getting him some points. All points are scored at the end of the game, by the way. So you would just kind of fill in all the dice, leaving it so that way everyone still has at least 2 dice options at the end. And then, the clever part is, so let's say you took this dice, for example, putting it in the yellow spot. Then the last dice goes over to the turn marker. And that dice is now being used as the turn marker. Generally, it's 10 rounds to the end. So I believe, because everyone gets 2 dice, and when you do it, you actually go in loop back order. I actually kind of described that wrong. So he would go first, him, and then second chance, then it would go back, and then he'd place the last die, and then you'd pass the bag to the right. And essentially, you keep playing until you either run out of dice in the bag. If you can't fill a window, if there's like a blockage, you're just stuck. You lose that turn. And that dice just gets booted out of the game, into the box, once you're done. And then everyone would essentially look at their windows, if they're complete, and see if they had lots of 3s and 4s in this example, lots of different sets of every single color. And of those sets of color, if they had matching colors in diagonal patterns for this game, right? There's tons of variety of objectives. I can't describe every single win condition. And throughout the game, on your turn, it might specify when you can use a power, like after drafting. So just after they take a die, then you can change the value of the die as you take it. Because when you draft a die, you must place it. And then this one says, you know, after your turn, immediately, so double draft, so that's pretty cool, but then you get skipped later. And then after drafting, you can return a die to the bag and get a random die. So, and then this can be done any time. So, it says after drafting, and this is after your first turn. So, it does specify on the cards. And that's essentially the whole game, actually. Let's say it's actually quite a fun, simple little game. And then at the end of the game, obviously, when you're scoring, you'd also say, well, I needed green, and I have 4 pips on that green, so I would get 4 points for that green die. You know, this guy over here, ooh, he wanted purple. See? He wanted purple, so he's getting, 8 points off of that, etc. And it's a really neat little game. I actually really like it a lot. It's got a lot of replay value, especially with those cards. Obviously, it's a dice game, so when you're rolling the dice, things can change. There's, I haven't actually showed it yet, but you can, you slide these cards out, so you have these kind of modular cards, and they're double-sided, and they come with a pip count. That's how many of those resources you could get. So that's super nice to see. Obviously, there's different options. See, this one requires different colors, so that's really good. Not a good game if you're colorblind. I will admit that, because this game is literally just a color game. And supposedly, when this is all complete and filled with dice, you'd have a unique stained glass window. So, hey, if you like stained glass window building, maybe you'll like it. I'm not gonna judge. I could be wrong. I don't know everyone's taste. But again, like I said, in terms of like kind of wrap up stuff, because that is the whole game. I find that the game is good, but I wouldn't play it over and over and over in the same day. This game feels like maybe 2 or 3 games I would play in a day and then call it. I wouldn't sit here for hours on end playing this game. You know, it's kind of a midway game for me. I don't give ratings, but it felt kind of like a meh. It's in the middle. It's still enjoyable. That's why I still think, hey, you should definitely get it. I think you should try it. I actually really like the game a lot. I think it's a fun concept, but it's no Galaxy Trucker, I guess you could say. It's not something that everyone is always asking to play. You kind of have to. If this is a game you put if you want a medium amount of game length time, and you don't want skill to be a big factor because again you're just rolling dice. This isn't a very thinky game. I mean, there's some thinking, but really there's not. If we're being honest here, there's much heavier, thinkier games. I'm happy to review later on, but for now, this is Sagrada. You guys should check it out though. Even if you don't buy it, find someone who has it, play it. It's great. I want to get more people into the board game hobby because there's just a lack of people talking about board games or watching board game stuff, and I want to support that community. So anyway, guys, as always, I'm Elwirfy. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys next time.